Hello Year 8, this is your second week of lessons on the Tempest, and this week we are looking at the theme of the environment. So we're going to be looking at the question, how does the description of the setting enable us to understand aspects of the characters' personalities in the Tempest? So the setting of the Tempest is believed to take place on an island somewhere in the Mediterranean, and is perhaps inspired by the real-life tempest which stranded several ships in Bermuda. However, the precise location of the island remains a mystery. The unknown location of the tempest has long been a source of debate. Some believe the setting of the play is a reference to the colonisation of the Americas that was taking place at the time Shakespeare wrote the play, meaning that the audience would have had a keen interest in seeing the play. So also, this location that is unspecific functions to allow Shakespeare and the audience to create different possibilities for what could occur on the island. And this also allows for theatre companies to stage the play as they want. They can interpret it in whichever way that they like. As it is a play rather than a novel, the descriptions we receive of the island come from the characters themselves. So therefore, the island could be used as a tool by Shakespeare to expose the personality traits of each of the characters. So a quick example is that it highlights the significance of colonialism through characters such as Prospero and Stefano, whose main desire is to control what goes on the island, even though they did not originally inhabit there. So it can also be suggested that the places that the characters are put by Prospero can reflect aspects of their character as well. So the island provides a convenient container for the action of the play, a confined space where Prospero can observe and influence what is going on, which is his main aim for the play. Okay, next we're going to look at Caliban, and this links to the work that we were doing last week. Now, Caliban was born on the island, and therefore he has no other experience of the outside world. And he says, "This island's mine, by Sycorax my mother." Therefore, he could have a bit more of an idealised version of the island, and he sees it as beautiful and full of life, as shown by the quotations that I put for you. So, the fresh springs, brine pits, barren place and fertile, and the sounds and sweet airs that give delight. However, he feels that the island has been taken away from him by Prospero, and this could be why he views it in a more idealised way, as it's something that he feels has been taken away, no longer belongs to him, and he really desires to get it back. So here he describes how he showed all of the beautiful aspects of the island to Prospero before he was enslaved by him, and this could reflect to us his desperation in wanting to have the island back. So this kind of shows that the island is seen as a piece of property by many of the characters, rather than just a beautiful landscape of nature. So Caliban, although he's a native of the island, which may suggest he has a right to rule the island, also wants complete control of the island and its inhabitants. So furthermore, Caliban suggests that the island is full of noises, which helps to create a supernatural feeling of the island. It suggests that the island seems alive and could be seen as a character itself. Some also believe that the appearance of the island could change for each character to reflect the problems and situations that they are facing at the time. So next we're going to look at Gonzalo and Alonso. So just to remind you, Gonzalo is the counsellor to Alonso, who is the King of Naples. Gonzalo is a very optimistic character, and he actually helped Prospero and Miranda escape Italy. However, although he's very positive, very optimistic, he can be seen as quite naive. Gonzalo dreams about taking the island and turning it into a form of utopia, which is an ideal place in which there are no rules. So he says, here is everything advantageous to life, which shows how each of the characters' view of the island is influenced by their personality. So this demonstrates that he is very optimistic. He sees it as a place for potential. Whereas many of the other characters, they tend to be quite pessimistic, so more negative. And this could also emphasise the idea that the island is magical, so it can alter its appearance to suit the individual and how they describe it. However, by the end of the play, Gonzalo is much more fearful of the island. He says, "All torment, trouble, wonder and amazement inhabits here. Some heavenly power guide us out of this fearful country." So this is demonstrating how he's quite naive and he underestimated the power and the supernatural elements of the island. He didn't expect it to have so much power over the characters. So that kind of links to the idea that they thought that they could turn up on the island and they could gain control, but however, that was not the case. Then Alonso, who's the king, you could say that his surroundings and the way he describes it are quite barren, which means there is not really much around, and that can reflect the fact that he is feeling lost over the fact that he thinks that his son Ferdinand is missing. He is very fearful of the supernatural qualities, so as he is the king, he is used to having power, and because of all these supernatural goings on, he feels that he is not in control anymore. Okay, so now we're going to look at Prospero. I'm just going to read this short speech from him. This is towards the end of the play. He says, "Our revels now are ended. These are actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And, like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yet all which it inherit, shall dissolve. And like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rag behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep." So what we're saying here is that Prospero views the island as a canvas, so for a manipulation and control over others on the island, which is the main goal that he wants to achieve. He wants to get his revenge on the people that he feels have wronged him. He does not appear to respect and appreciate any part of the island as Caliban had hoped that he would. He just kind of took it and used it for his gain. Prospero views the island as kind of like a stage. He refers to actors where he can direct and control what is going on. And he explains here that the magical setting he created for some characters has now disappeared, and now that the island is back to being faded and baseless. It kind of shows you how he sees it as kind of unimportant, like a blank space. So this could link to how, without their usual grand and beautiful surroundings, the characters are able to reveal their true selves as they're more vulnerable. So people like Alonso, they don't have as much control as they usually would. Okay, so this is just a summary of the key points that I've made in this lesson. So the location of the island in the Tempest is a mystery, so that it can be interpreted in different ways by theatre directors. The setting is used as a tool by Shakespeare to expose the true personalities of the characters, as suggested by some of the examples that I mentioned. Many of the characters therefore expose who they truly are because they feel out of control due to the supernatural aspects of the island. And the island can be linked to the theme of colonialism, as it's seen as property by most of the characters instead of a beautiful landscape. So this is interesting because during the time when Shakespeare was writing, colonialisation was something that was occurring.